you have internet muscle flexes? Because I don't have anything.
No, I just
I
have
have
a
I have one.
Here's
Is it-
that. I always forget to do that. I bet I could find one.
What'd you say?
Is it strong?
This is Pong.
Strong.
Oh,
Get off the shed!
it's pretty good, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, hopefully this internet holds up for us.
Yeah, I do not feel like doing editing tonight, so.
I think it'll be okay.
Well, you know what? As long as you guys can understand, because if it doesn't sound that good, we'll just pull it off YouTube, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Sorry, guys. What am I doing here? I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh. All right, can you guys hear this?
Yeah.
This is Andrew Bellison, the voice of Wrigley Field.
Yes.
Is it way loud?
A little bit loud.
Andy, did you say yes before it started playing, or did you actually hear it?
You did, I know. I was like, it hasn't started yet.
You played the Andrew Bellison. Because I thought you were talking about your voice. I thought you were talking about your own voice.
I thought maybe you were like on a different wavelength.
Well, that too.
Okay, so tell me if you hear this.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Andrew Bellison.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Are you talking about your voice or the music?
I hear both.
Okay, I'm sorry. My
Heard both.
there's something wrong with my mixer right now, of course.
This is Andrew Bellison, the voice of Wrigley Field, and you're listening to the IVNB podcast.
All right. You guys want to do a sound check real quick?
Check. Hello.
Check. Jack, hello. Check.
Man, there's something weird going on with all my stuff tonight. All right, go ahead and just keep talking.
All right. Straily is back with Iowa.
Sounding a little sketchy to me, but I think my connection is slow. I think mine might have something to do with the fact that I have so many tabs open.
You do sound a little choppy.
Oh. What?
I don't know why this sounds weird tonight. Andy, can you talk again?
Yeah, I can. I was just trying to think of all the possible starters for next season. I'm just kind of going through the list because there's a question about that, about bringing Jackson, or about a listener saying no way Jackson's back next season.
Do you have an individual volume control on your end, Andy? Or are you just going it?
I do, yes.
Because you seem a lot louder to me than Kurt.
Okay. A lot.
Do I sound louder now?
Talk again, Kurt.
Hello. Do I sound louder now?
Yeah, now you sound louder.
Oh, see, I turned mine up.
Oh, okay.
Is it better? Is that good?
Yeah. Now you're even. Yeah.
So I shouldn't adjust mine?
No, just leave it where it was.
Okay.
Do I sound the same level to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just more robotic?
Maybe a tiny smidge on the louder side, but not much.
It just goes all robotic once in a while.
He says as he goes robotic.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
I'm just going to put my bandwidth like super low or my video low.
Yeah. My computer's working pretty hard tonight. Okay. I think I'm ready if you guys are.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I have done essentially zero preparation for this, so we'll see.
Let's rock it out.
All right, here we go.
This is Andrew Bellison, the voice of Wrigley Field, and you're listening to the IVND podcast.
Hi.
What just happened?
Did you guys hear me?
You go, hi!
All I heard is hi!
My mic wasn't on, so I started talking, and I think I like subconsciously made myself go louder because it. Oh my god!
I think we need to leave that alone. Just leave that in. Hi!
No, except it didn't come through on this side.
Oh.
Oh my gosh!
I thought somebody walked in on you or something.
You guys are scared.
Hand down your
I'm
pants.
telling you guys, I should not be recording tonight. I'm just putting that out there.
Are you drunk? Hi.
No,
Both?
no, quite no. High from being exhausted, but
Loopy.
all right. Let's yeah, loopy exactly. Man, my mic is.
Oh jeez.
All right. Man, this is gonna be terrible.
Oh, stop.
Dang it, dude.
Not because of you guys.
Well, you're always terrible.
All right, here we go.
This is Andrew Bellison, voice of Wrigley Field. This is Andrew Bellison, the voice of Wrigley Field, and you're listening to the IVND podcast.
Hi, and thanks for downloading this week's episode of the IVMV podcast. It is August 18th, 2014. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts through a Google Plus Hangout.
Hi, it's Andy.
And Kurt.
This episode is coming out a day later than they normally do, and now that our summers are wrapping up, our schedules should be getting more consistent. And when they are consistent, we record on Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central. And if you'd like to watch the live video broadcast, you can go to ivmb.com/live to do that. And we're recording a day late because I was in Dallas, Texas for Podcast Movement, which is a national podcasting conference. On last week's episode, I asked you guys how many Cubs jokes you thought I would hear when I was introduced as a speaker, and then during the panel I was sitting on, and then also throughout the conference. And I have to say, just a few. Like, I honestly, there was like a couple of, like, just, I mean, it wasn't so much like, I don't know, just, I would say one or two, and they were very tame, very just kind of like me kind of acknowledging ahead of time, like, yes, I podcast on the Cubs, yes, so go ahead and hit me. But, yeah, I would say I was pretty much in the clear.
So Kurt and I both picked over then.
I think
So I won. I picked the under.
No, yep, you won.
I picked under.
Well,
Did
you
I?
picked 5, I think.
I don't even remember. You're both losers.
I picked 7.
I do remember saying it would be fewer than you thought it would be.
Yeah, it wasn't too many. But I mean, actually, surprisingly, I did have a few people say like things like, "Oh man, it's gonna get fun for you guys here pretty soon." So I thought that was really kind of cool that like just general baseball fans, and I mean they weren't like fellow baseball podcasters or anything like that. I think people that follow sports kind of know what's going on with the Cubs. So I was actually a little bit surprised by that.
Really, I was kind of thinking that people in general are about to have what the Cubs are doing unleashed on them, like, because I still hear a lot of people being like, "Oh, we're playing the Cubs this week, so there's some wins," and
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I talked to a couple people. One of them was Rob Sesternino. He was a contestant on Big Brother. He's a big podcaster now, really popular. He has successful shows. And as soon as he saw me, he walked up and he wanted to talk baseball because the Cubs are playing the Mets, this last weekend, and he's a big Mets fan. And he was well aware of what was going on with the Cubs and what the situation. There's all these kind of trade rumors between the Cubs and the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he knew everything about Addison Russell and everything. So I was really kind of surprised.
I think too that the Sports Center hasn't paid attention to the Cubs for several years now, and now that Baez crushes 450-foot home runs, they're starting to pay attention. So at least they're getting some national coverage, and people are probably starting to think, "Huh, Sports Center says it."
Yeah. Well, that's all it's going to take is Sports Center or Sports Illustrated or something like that to run a piece just like they ran on the Astros, and then everybody will know what's going on. I kind of like flying under the radar, but
Me too. I want to fly. I want the Cubs to kind of fly under the radar as long as possible, so that 2015 kind of it just surprises people.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2016.
I want 2015 to be a surprise to me.
How are they going to do that, Andy, when Javier Baez is just okay?
They'll have traded him by then.
Right. Well, I mentioned the Mets, and speaking of the Mets, I was on Mets Musings podcast last week to talk about where the Cubs are at and their rebuild and everything. So if you'd like to hear that, I'll put a link for that post in this episode. But before we get started, I want to say I literally just pulled in from Dallas. We drove, and I got home, I ate dinner, and then an Orioles podcast had me on to talk about the Cubs and that upcoming series, and now we're doing this. So I woke up in Oklahoma, and here we are.
It's quite a schedule.
It's never fun to wake up in Oklahoma. No offense to the Oklahomans out there, but man, I do not like Oklahoma.
Well, gosh, what did you see? One city?
No, I've been to. I've driven through there quite a few times.
Oh, okay.
I have been to the memorial in Oklahoma City. If you've never done that, that is really, really cool to see. Kind of sobering, but sorry, I didn't mean to bring anything down.
Well,
Might as
you
well.
saw a lot of depressing sights on your trip,
I
right?
know. Yes. Okay. So we're in Dallas, and the second. Let's see. What day is today's Monday, right? Yeah. Saturday night, the event was they bussed us to oh, House of Blues, and so it was like downtown Dallas, and I told Tommy like, okay, we're going to Dallas. Like I have to go to Dealey Plaza to see where JFK was shot and everything. And we weren't able to go there Friday night, and I thought, oh, we're not going to be able to go Saturday. We're going to have to go before we leave town on Sunday. But then House of Blues was like a 5-minute, 10-minute walk from there. So I was like, yeah, let's walk down there before we go inside for the stuff that's going on. So we walked down there. We walk up, and I was like, how many times I like the History Channel, everything, Discovery. So, we've seen that footage.
How many times have you poured over the Zapruder phone?
Yeah, exactly. And so I walked up, and it wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to be. The school book depository building was like kind of in a different spot different angle than I thought it would be and stuff. But it was just really cool to see. Saw the grassy knoll and kind of walked up there and looked around and stuff. And I was just like, I wouldn't say I was like happy to be there, but I was like, wow, this is really cool to be here, And then my friend Ray, that's a podcaster, he was standing next to me, and he's like, hey, you see that X out there on the road? And I was like, no. And I looked over at it, and I just I seriously almost got sick to my stomach. Like it was like, ugh.
Because that's all that needed to be said.
Right. You sent us a picture of it. I don't even know what we were talking about before that. And then it's like, oh, look, here's where Kennedy was shot.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring you guys down if you're having fun on a Saturday night. But
yeah, I was sitting at a bar watching the game.
Yeah.
I think that's where I was.
But man, it was really. I'm so glad I got to see that. But yeah, there's all these conspiracy people walking around and stuff. They had these booths set up, with a DVD player, playing that clip over and over and telling you what this is where is blah blah blah. And so yeah, I don't know. It was.
But in happier news, you got to go see the Rangers, right?
Right.
See the stadium there.
Yeah, Globe Life Park is what that ballpark's named. Which I found out the people there don't call it that. They call it the ballpark in Arlington.
Yeah.
And,
I don't even know I don't even know what Globe Life is. Usually when a stadium is named something, whether it's whatever, Tropicana or Minute Maid or something hey, that's orange juice. But what the hell?
You just named 2 orange juices.
I know. That's all I could think of. I froze. Miller. That's beer.
We know Miller. Yeah, right? Busch.
Yeah. We got beer. Yeah. So what's Globe Life?
I have no idea. But okay, so while we're there, I'm like, it was the 9th inning, and I was like, oh, I should go get I kind of wanted to get something that said, the name of the ballpark or kind of a picture of the ballpark or something on it, just something, even if it was a postcard or something like that. And so I went to the store or whatever it's called, fan store, and I was like, do you have anything with the name of the ballpark on it? I looked around, I couldn't find anything, and he was like, no, we have some stuff that says Rangers on it. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Rangers game. Everything says Rangers on it.
A startling lack of things that say Rangers on it.
It all just says Texas.
Right. So, yeah, they literally did not have one single thing that said, because I didn't really want a Rangers, something Rangers, but I ended up buying a shot glass that had kind of a retro looking Rangers logo, a big cowboy hat. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, obviously the first time I had been to that ballpark, so I got to cross that off. And I had no idea until we got there, but it's right next to the new Cowboys stadium, AT&T, I think that one's called. And so that was kind of cool to see from a distance. But so the Rangers ballpark, it's 20 years old. And I liked it. And, I was kind of thinking about this. While I was there, I don't, and we may have kind of talked about that when we've talked about other ballparks, but I don't think I've been to a ballpark that I just did not like. I think if there's baseball being played and all these ballparks are geared towards the fan experience, and so that's kind of, there's certain aspects I may not like about them and stuff, but I thought this was a pretty nice ballpark. I liked it. I didn't necessarily want to go to our seats right away, so we walked around a lot. So if you've seen this games down there before, they have that I don't even know how to explain that big white facade or whatever. It's like the luxury boxes are up there. And on TV, it really looks like that is almost on the field. Like it's almost right up against the fence. But I bet there's 150 or 200 feet between the fence and those things. And that area in the middle is just like a big patio area and stuff. And so it was kind of cool. So we just kind of hung out there and watched the game. But it was cool. I had did I send you guys a picture? I had a frozen beer there.
No, you didn't.
So hot. It was so hot, and I was like, "Frozen beer? That sounds good. I think I'll try it." So what it is, it's a regular beer, and then they freeze.
No, they freeze
foam. They freeze foam, and then they have like a soft serve machine, and they put the foam on top. It's frozen. Yeah.
Slushy.
Right. So I was all about it at first because it was super cold and it tasted good, but then I realized there's way too much foam. So you really, for that 12-ounce beer, you really only probably got about 8. And then I couldn't drink it because it's got all this frozen foam on top, and you can't get to the beer, so you had to eat the foam off first.
That sounds terrible. It sounds like it's like the beer version of Dippin' Dots.
I know. I thought it was great, and then after like 3 minutes, I was like, "This is bullshit. I want my money back."
This is the beer the astronauts drink.
Right.
Oh man.
But yeah, other than that, I thought it was cool. They had I don't know. It was a ballpark. They kind of have Texas. They definitely have a lot. Like they're very proud of their state. So I think I put this on our Facebook page, but seventh inning stretch comes along, and I'm like, you have to like basically peel yourself off the chair because you're completely stuck to it because it's like 120% humidity and 95 degrees. But so I stand up and I'm just kind of like, all right, let's Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And they do God Bless America, which, man, people were belting that out. They were all about singing God Bless America. And then I'm ready for it to go. I'm like, well, maybe it'll go into it now. No, it went into like, I don't know what this song was. It was kind of like that Cotton Eye Joe song, but like a little more bluegrass, but just as dancey or whatever. And people went nuts, like bonkers. Everybody in the stadium is dancing. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm totally blown away by it. And I kind of looked at Tawny and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then right then, our whole like the 3 rows around us start like screaming and pointing at the screen. And we're on the screen as I'm just like the one dude not dancing, just like completely baffled.
Amazing.
So, that was my experience at Globe Life Park.
Were you wearing Cubs gear too?
I did. I wore a Cubs shirt and hat, and I ran into I just in walking in the concourse, a guy probably about our age walked by wearing a Cubs hat and shirt, and then his kid was with him wearing a Cubs hat. So we just kind of gave the obligatory "Go Cubs." But I ran into a Cubs fan at a bar in Russellville, Arkansas, the night before. And talked with him. He was very optimistic about Junior Lake.
Yeah.
So,
you mean the club?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to get in. We found a bar in a dry county, which is
yeah.
I didn't even
probably
tell you guys most of what I experienced there. We'll save that for off the air. It was
Awesome.
It was insane. It was insane. But and down there they told okay, so we went to we're wasting time here, but we went to this really unique bar down there first called Buffalo Wild Wings. I think there's just like 1 or 2 of them in that area down there. I think they started down there or something. But no. So we went there and they had beer and stuff, and so it was really loud. There were a bunch of people doing like fantasy drafts and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I kind of want to get out of here and go somewhere else. So we asked our waitress, like, oh, are there any bars to go to around here that you'd suggest? And she's like, well, there aren't many bars around here, but there's this one place, and she's got the Arkansas accent, and she's like, it's called the Dardanelle Club. And I was like, the Dardanelle Club?
Darnell McDonald from the Cubs.
I know. And then I was like, I told Tony, I was like, I don't know if she said Darnell or Darnale. Like it's like 2 words, like Darnale. I don't know. And so we had no idea what we're looking for. Somehow we found it, and it was actually called the Dardanelle Club or Dardanelle Club. Yeah, and so since it's a dry county, I had to become a card-carrying member, which I have my card right here, guys.
Oh, good.
So, there it is. Official. The Dardanelle
I
Club.
think it expired though. It only was good for one day.
No, it's good for a year. I'm
Oh,
close.
a year. I thought it was.
I'm member number 7257.
Oh.
So, yeah, did that. Let's move on.
Did it? Check that off the bucket list.
Right. No, but there was he was wearing the hat that they gave away for the anniversary for the first night game at Wrigley Field. So that was kind of cool. And I talked with him. His sister lives up in Chicago, so I told him about the podcast and stuff. So he may be listening, and I forgot his name. So I'm sorry. I had been drinking. So let's talk about the Cubs, a team that I have not been able to watch in nearly a week, and I will try to hold my own in this conversation.
Yeah.
Oh wait, but before that, I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget. If you're going to the Cubs game on Thursday for social media night, shoot me a tweet or email. Michael from Galesburg and I are gonna go up there, and we'd like to have a beer with you. So, okay. So the September call-ups obviously haven't begun yet, but we're starting to see some new and old faces with the Cubs. And I guess first off, let's talk about Straily making his debut.
Yeah, so he made his debut on, see, what day was that? Saturday? Yeah, sounds right. It was really kind of a mixed bag for him. He looked really good at times, but then he kind of had a couple of rough innings. It's hard to, judge from one start how a guy's going to be, but he certainly showed potential to locate these pitches. And when he did, he looked really good. His total line was 5 1/3 innings, and he only gave up 4 hits, but had 7 runs. Only 5 of those earned because he walked 3. So he doesn't throw very hard. Tops out about 90. So he really has to rely on location and changing speeds. But the problem is so when he looked really good in 4 of the innings he pitched, which is the first, third, fourth, and fifth, when he didn't give up a run, he faced the minimum, 3 up, 3 on. So he looked amazing in those innings. But then in the third, he gave up 3, and then in the 6th is really kind of when he fell apart. And he hit a guy, walked a guy, gave up another hit, and then walked another guy, so he got pulled. So, it's kind of like you can kind of forgive the 6th inning a little bit because, it's your first start with a new team. He's probably kind of gassed. He was fading. So really, outside of that second inning was his worst. But so like I said, he looked really good part of the time, and then kind of bad the other time. So hopefully he kind of is more of the control and location guy that he was for a few innings. But I think he's going to get hit once in a while. So, but yeah, just one start, so hopefully he improves next time out.
Right. And now he's back with Iowa, right?
Yeah, I think it was just that one spot start. So
yeah.
But he's a potential, end of the rotation guy next
right.
year. Maybe.
We haven't seen the last of him this season.
No.
And then Matt Szczur got called up, which I thought was pretty cool. And if you want to listen, we did an interview with Matt Szczur, I don't know, it was probably 3 years ago or something, and I'll put a link for it in the post for this episode. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool to see him get called up.
Yeah, because he's been in the Cubs system for 5 seasons now, starting in 2010. He was a 5th-round draft pick, and we actually got to see him at the Midwest League All-Star game, I think back in, 2011 or something like that. Do you recall that, Corey?
Yeah.
I was there too, wasn't it?
Yeah. With his,
yeah, okay.
Wasn't his the jersey debacle? Or maybe that was, I don't remember who that was.
Oh, yeah, I think it was. But anyway, he's just always been like one of those guys who's worked really hard and we knew he was going to get his chance at some point. But he's just another one of those guys who's going to end up probably being a 4th outfielder in the big leagues because his defense is incredible. At his best, his hitting is decent. He could potentially fit into a leadoff role if he could keep his average up, but it's That's probably that could be too much to ask. I don't know, but he's known for his speed. He's very fast, and he's stolen I think 30 bases for Iowa this season, and so he hasn't had a chance to cut it loose with the Cubs yet. He made his It's funny. He made his way on base in Sunday's game, and he didn't have a chance to steal. I was really hoping he'd have a chance to steal, but then I saw him up at the plate. I was like, man, he's tiny.
Yeah.
It's hilarious how I will make fun of people being tiny, and then I looked up his bio today, and he's 6'1". and I'm 5'10", so how tiny I would look, or you or I would look, Corey, if we were up there at bat.
We wouldn't look quite as tiny, in the stomach area as he does.
But anyway, his first at bat was really funny because he hit into a fielder's choice, and then they showed the section of the stadium where that had his friends and family in it, and they're just going bonkers.
That was awesome.
They were freaking out, and he basically grounded into a fielder's choice.
Even Len was like, fielder's choice, Len. But
yeah, I think JD said something to the effect of, you got to love it when a fielder's choice makes a group of people that excited, or something along those lines. But anyway, I think there's a listener question later about if he has a chance to stick with the club or not. But anyway, you like it when you see a hard worker like him rewarded for his hard work, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. It's cool to see him come up. I was looking in the chat, and Kurt, I think that Tim said I think he's kind of surprised that I didn't queue up the small sample size song when you were talking about Straily.
Oh yeah, the one start. That's probably worthy of a small sample size.
I won't do it.
Disclaimer, but not the song.
Okay.
Maybe a mention, but not the song.
And then let's see. There was some roster movement, I guess, in the other direction. First off, Junior Lake was sent to Iowa.
Yeah, Junior wasn't having such a good year, and we've talked about this before. I think he was the subject of a scary stat maybe a couple weeks ago. He just really wasn't getting it done at the plate. His swing rate was just astronomical, like Pablo Sandoval high, but the problem is that he wasn't making contact. Swinging and missing it a lot. His strikeout rate was above 33%, and his walk rate was just 3%. So he was not getting on base in any way. His batting average had dropped to 216, and he kind of looked desperate. I mean, he looked outmatched in just about every plate appearance, and his playing time had really gone down. I think I saw that he'd only started 2 games since June 2nd. And the other problem with that is that his stats as a pinch hitter were even worse.
Wait, he had only started 2 games since June 7th?
I read that in an article. I want to say it was on Sun Times, yeah. And otherwise he was being used as a substitute later or pinch hitter. And I think his batting average as a pinch hitter was 130 or something like that. So he really wasn't, useful, I guess. And especially needing roster spots in the active roster and making a lot of moves, he was a pretty obvious choice to head back to Iowa and hopefully work some things out.
Yeah, with Coughlin and Alcantara playing well, they kind of squeezed him out of the outfield.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Old he's hitting .313 in Iowa right now. So like you said, Corey, that could. That's just what he needed, and so maybe this will be just what Junior needs.
Yeah, and you got to feel. I mean, I feel for him too because he's surrounded by the excitement, with Baez coming up, and I'm sure those guys they know each other and kind of buddies, and he made it up last year, played well, earned a spot, and then it's to have to go back down. That that's got to be tough. But like you said, hopefully he pulls it together and
he's going to be able to play every day now, and he's they're going to be able to work on him. I think it's hard to work on stuff at the major league level for young guys. It's hard to. I don't know. I think the AAA level is going to be a lot easier for him to do that, and he's got 2 weeks of the regular season to do that down there, and
2 weeks to pick Manny's brain.
right. So, anything else you wanted to say about Junior?
No, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he does down there in the last couple weeks. And then another subtraction in the roster, the 40-man roster, was Brett Jackson, and the Jackson Vitters era is 50% complete. Not timeline-wise, but
as in like complete, as in like mission accomplished. No, not quite.
Well,
not
as
timeline-wise,
like
but
the George W. Bush aircraft carrier mission accomplished banner.
Yeah, there you go.
But Brett Jackson, he was traded to the Diamondbacks for reliever Blake Cooper, yeah, for a few years towards the end of the Jim Hendry years, these two guys, Jackson and Vitters, they were the top dogs in the Cubs minor league system. They were the players that we had our hopes on, and they both really kind of had pretty similar results. So Jackson was drafted in the first round, 31st overall by the Cubs in the 2009 draft, and he made it up to the Cubs in 2012. In 120 at-bats, he hit 175 and struck out basically 50% of the time. And strikeouts have been the issue with him, and well, really just making contact is the issue, and that leads to strikeouts and the low numbers. For Iowa this year, he was hitting 210. And he had an OBP of 298, and he was slugging 348. So not the numbers you want to see. Like, what, isn't this his third year in Iowa, I think?
This would have been, I think, his third full season in Iowa.
Yeah, I don't have it pulled up, but he's just been in Iowa for so long, and I don't know. It is really kind of a bummer to see his career. It's a little premature, but seemingly plateau when he was like 22 years old, and he struck out a lot. But he still had acceptable numbers in Double-A, and when he first went to Triple-A in 2011 and 2012, but he's really struggled, and I think it was clear in no way does he fit into the Cubs' future. And I guess this is kind of a change of scenery deal, and it was inevitable, and I think it's going to happen with Josh Vitters here in the next few months too. So it's just it's a bummer.
It was a roster spot dump.
Right. It's a bummer in that he didn't pan out, but again, it's fun. It's kind of fun to look back and to think of like, oh yeah, there was a time when Jackson and Vitters were everything that we had in the minor leagues, and looking at what we have now, it just feels like we're in a much better spot.
And it serves to illustrate how much of a difference there can be between a high first round draft pick and a low first round draft pick.
That's true. Yeah. And it also shows the difference between, just because someone is ranked number one in a system, there's a big difference between that number one and other number ones.
Yeah, that's a good point. You feel bad. I mean, he's a dude who's grinding it out down there, and I felt especially bad when I saw he'd been assigned to the Single-A team, I think, was it the Diamondbacks that they traded with? But I think...
No, he's in Triple-A.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He went to Reno. Yeah, because pretty sure in his first game he had 5 at-bats and struck out 4 times.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure that's what I read. So...
That's harsh.
Yeah. But as far as, who they got in return, Cooper, since I am out of the loop, I know nothing about Cooper right now. My research today was limited because I had to do it on my phone in the middle of Oklahoma with no cell coverage, cell service, so I don't know anything about Cooper. I know he's 26, and I know that he was in the Double-A Southern League All-Star game, and then he was in Triple-A before the trade. That's all I know.
I
read a couple things.
Yeah.
That essentially amounted to he's just a guy. Like, the Cubs didn't really. I don't think the Cubs cared who they got for him because they just wanted to clear that roster spot. They're like, whatever, just send somebody.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, not to. I mean, that's disrespectful a bit to Cooper, but maybe he'll be something. But
he's been assigned to Tennessee.
Much expectation.
He's been assigned to Tennessee, and he's gotten in a game already down there, and so he's getting his feet wet in the Cubs system.
What did you say? He was 26?
Yeah. Yep.
So he said, 26-year-old guys that are stuck in the system aren't worth a whole lot.
Right. Yeah. But the Cubs still probably came out on top. Regardless of who or what he is, they it was an addition by subtraction. And I don't know. I hate to honestly, Kurt, you and I had the opportunity to meet Brett Jackson when we were at spring training, and I talked with him one other time in Peoria, and he was really nice. I mean, he from just our short time with him, he seemed like a really nice guy. So it's not like I'm taking pleasure in things really kind of winding down for him.
No.
Because he's still way better than me.
No.
All right, so let's see what else. Well, even though I was out of the loop, I occasionally did look at Twitter, and I saw that Bryant left a game because of injury. I have to admit, a wave of panic came over me.
Yeah, apparently he fouled the ball off his foot, and so he'd been kind of playing with some pain, and then aggravated it again this past weekend. So they had him have an X-ray, and that turned out inconclusive, and so then they had an MRI, ordered an MRI on it, and then they found out that the injury is just a contusion, which is just a fancy word for bruise, right?
Right.
And that there's no structural damage. So according to Carrie Muscat, this was encouraging news today, that he did some running and would be taking batting practice today. And then she also quoted Marty Peavy, the Cubs manager, saying that he would be available to pinch hit in tonight's game. So
that's good news.
He's not getting shut down or anything like that. He's going to be back in there for this, the little push that the slim chance that Iowa has of making the playoffs. Maybe it's more than slim, but I know that they're kind of on the cusp of missing out. So they definitely need him. But even more importantly, he's going to be able to, continue with this program and do his work in the off season and things like that. So he's not going to have to be out for a while with a broken toe or anything, of that nature. So that's good news. By the way, did you guys see the video of Javi Baez's home run from today?
The contusion.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
JD goes, could you say that he just gave that ball a contusion? and then Len goes, he contused it.
That was good.
But anyway, yeah, so Bryant's going to be fine.
Yeah, well, let's not forget, this is his first full, minor league season, his first season in pro ball, so it's a grind, and I can't imagine how sore these guys have to be right now. And I know they're in great shape, they're athletes and everything, but there's just, I don't know, your body takes a beating over a season, and I think this is about the time of the year where those nagging injuries might kind of take over, and who knows how many other balls he's fouled off that foot and that toe and everything throughout the season. And so I don't know, I honestly, when I read that, I kind of thought, oh, I wonder if they're not getting ready to shut him down. Just because if Iowa's not going to make the playoffs, then I don't know, why risk anything? Why not give them a little bit of rest? But if they can make the playoffs, I like the idea of all those guys getting post
that experience
and everything. So
check out this quotation from the Iowa manager Marty Peavy. He says, this is from Carrie Muscat's article. He's been dealing with it for the last couple of nights and sucking it up because he's a freaking gamer. I kind of love that.
Oh, that's from a Carrie Muscat article?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Are
But
there
she's
any
quoting
flexes for that?
Oh, there's a bunch. That's where mine comes from.
Okay.
But if you're Marty Peavy, you got to be loving it. Like, this is the best year you've ever had in your life.
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Freaking gamer.
That sounds like something Jason Parks would say. Only
Right.
He wouldn't say freaking.
Right. And it would involve the word sexy, too.
Yeah. Or sack.
I can edit this out if you guys want me to, but in the chat, they asked for our Twitter handles. Which I guess they're on our bio pages, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
put it. Yeah, I'd just say go to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll post them. I'll post them in the post for this article. But I don't know. I don't think the
I don't
three of
even
us.
know if I know what mine is.
Mine's at Rob Delaney.
And I mean, honestly, most of the on my personal one, I don't really tweet about the Cubs that much because I kind of save that for IVMB. So, but anyways, speaking of social media, we're gonna do some listener questions here. Well, actually, before we get to listener questions, do you guys just have any general thoughts on the? Okay. Pretend you're talking to someone that has not watched the Cubs play in a week. So what are your general thoughts on what's happening with the Cubs?
Well, for me, like I've been a little disappointed because a lot of players seem to go into slumps like right when Baez came up. So the team looked fairly inept there in some of those games with the Mets and Coughlin, for example, been having a great season, but then he kind of went into a deep slump, basically that timed out right with Baez getting called up. We have
Same with Alcantara too.
Alcantara, and then also Anthony Rizzo is kind of dealing with a little slump, although he did hit a homer. He had a good game today, actually. So yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. But I was kind of looking forward to, I guess, as a viewer and a fan of the team looking a little bit more dangerous as far as the offense is concerned, and that hasn't necessarily been the case.
Right, especially considering the top 4 or 5 slots, are kind of pieces that could potentially be long-term pieces. You'd like to see the offense kind of start clicking.
Yeah.
So
although Castro has still been hitting
Castro's,
pretty well.
yeah. Does he still have his hitting streak going? Do you guys know?
No. I think it stopped at 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I think.
But anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. Castro pounded a home run to the opposite field, to right field,
that
in
was
Sunday's game, and
awesome.
he just killed it. And Len goes, you could probably count all of his opposite field home runs on one hand. And then later on, somebody gave him a stat, and he's like, "Oh, he has 7 to the opposite field." So I guess you're gonna need 2 hands. But anyway, yeah, he's looked good.
And that was a cool call too, because remember when Len mentioned on the interview how like he just likes it to be organic when he calls on, like that one was so organic. Len was as surprised as anybody that went out, because once he saw it kind of heading that way, he's kind of like, thought it would probably be caught, and then it was like, it's out. He got excited.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to see.
It's a testament. It's a testament to the bat speed and the power that Castro has. If he can be a little late on a swing like that and still just drive it like he did that ball.
Right. In the chat, Tim mentions that the strikeouts are really bad right now. That is something that
That's a scary topic.
I mean, let's hold on to that one for later. I'll expand on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, so we talked about, you said, for somebody who hasn't watched anything, but offense has been down, but pitching in the last 2 games has been pretty incredible.
Oh yeah.
Arrieta yesterday going 7. I think he gave up 2 hits, and then Hendricks today just dominated again, and I think he went 7 and gave up 3 or 4 hits maybe. So the last 2 days of pitching have been fun to watch. I didn't watch, but I listened.
Yeah, Hendricks has been great, and I just kind of like get this negative attitude with location guys that, they could just be a guy in the rotation or whatever. But Hendricks has looked really good, and he really keeps batters off balance with just his repertoire. And it was hilarious, I thought today, that Renteria, he's like, yeah, I know it's a small sample size, but then he goes on to compare him to Greg Maddux.
I've heard the Maddux comparison several times with Hendricks, and then of course people flip out and stuff, but just conversation, people.
But anyway, I mean, he's looking more and more like a guy who could be 4 or 5 in the Cubs rotation for a while,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been amazing.
Which is good. We needed that. We needed good pitching at the end of this year, based on compared to what we've seen the last few years.
And with
when you think
margin,
everybody was, worried about who's going to eat those innings, and now you got Hendricks, and then Wada's been pitching pretty well, and
right.
Yeah, The innings are being pitched fairly well.
And they're being eaten.
They're being eaten up. And
Not only,
eaten,
I was just thinking about it. Not only have I not been able to watch the Cubs in a week because of everything, I have seen more from Giovanni Soto and Jim Aducci than I have the Cubs in the last week. So, I don't remember either of them doing anything too memorable in that game.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to some listener questions here, and we've kind of posed this question on Facebook the day that we record, so you can get there by going to ivnb.com/Facebook. We are at IVMB on Twitter. Oh man, and then we're at IVMB Podcast on Instagram, and Google Plus is ivnb.com/Google. So let's start off here. Johnny says, does Matt Szczur have a chance to be a backup player next year?
My answer to that is he certainly does, with the question marks in the outfield. Is Coughlin in the plans at all? There's a lot of question marks out there with the departure of Schierholtz and those type of things. So definitely he's a guy that you would want to have on the bench because he's the ideal pinch runner.
Mm-hmm.
He's the ideal guy, if you have a chance to get him on, if he can get on base, he can do some damage. He can be a game changer there. But the problem is can the Cubs carry him if he's not hitting well? If he's not producing offensively, it could turn into like a Tony Campana type of situation. With
Sam
him.
Fold.
Right.
I mean, if there's a place in baseball for Sam Fold or Tony Campana, there's a place in baseball for Matt Szczur.
Absolutely.
And I think just the fact that they called him up now should be at least a good sign for him that they like him. So
do you think in
he's
some
got
ways?
a shot at it.
Do you think in some ways they're showcasing him?
I suppose.
I mean,
it's a
just to be
possibility.
showcasing him, not like, oh, he's going to go up and set the world on fire, but like, hey, this is a legitimate number 4,
Mm-hmm.
outfielder.
At some point, he's going to make some plays, as far as, just spectacular defensive outfield plays that'll catch people's attention.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's possible. But I could also see him, being moved in a trade or something like that too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin says, did any of you happen to listen to the radio broadcast of the game this weekend? If so, what did you think about the substitutes?
I did. Yeah, it was Dave Ennett and Dave Otto, right?
Yeah, the
Yes.
Daves.
And I guess when I first thought about this, I thought, man, they weren't very good. But then it was like, in context, I'm comparing them to Pat Hughes and a little bit Coomer because I've grown to like Coomer and
Coom Dog.
Sorry,
Coom
my
Dog.
mistake.
Uh-huh.
I'm comparing them with everyday guys, and these guys came in cold and aren't doing this
Right.
every day. It wasn't bad. I think Ennett did an okay job. If he were the everyday guy, I probably wouldn't be my favorite, but I think they did all right. I'm just trying not to be too hard on them.
Right.
Yeah, same
The
page
one
as you. I did say out loud, like, is Dave Otto even there right now? At one point, but I mean, I thought they did fine.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't hear it, so I can't comment on it. Jeff says, a lot of Mets bloggers seem to think that Baez is a likely trade target for them. How likely do you think a trade of Baez is to happen? And if so, what would you like in return?
Not likely. And I don't think the Mets have the pitching to make that deal. I don't know. I guess I haven't looked into it a ton, but
They do have pitching.
But pitching to get Baez?
Right. I don't know if they have that I mean, I suppose if you start, piling them up, maybe. And I'll just say, when I was talking with Rob Sesternino in our, and the conversation on Mets Musings, they mentioned Castro more than Baez.
Well, I mean, I think we do have to be prepared for the Cubs to move one of these guys, and it's tough, if it were Baez. Well, I mean, it's also conceivable that they could keep them. I mean, we've gone over this over and over again about shortstops being versatile players, but they're, they're probably going to have to make some deals for pitching, and could those deals possibly include one of these guys? Yes, I think so.
I guess I would say I don't see any of those deals happening until they've tested free agency. I mean, I think first step one is wait till the offseason, see if you can get the big name free agent through free agency, obviously. And then if you don't get that deal done, then you start looking at, do we have to deal one of these guys to get it?
Right.
But I don't think it happens before then.
Unless they know that that someone does not project to have the career that everyone in baseball thinks that player might. But I agree with you, Kurt.
Good.
But anyway,
I don't know if what I said made any sense at all, so just scratch that from your memory.
As far as a trade between the Cubs and the Mets, though, there was a quotation on MLB Trade Rumors. And they were quoting Joel Sherman of the New York Post, and it says that an NL executive tells Sherman that the Mets don't make a lot of trades, and that is because they really don't like to give up what they perceive as their big talent unless they can convince you to give them $2 for their 35 cents.
I don't think Theo and Jed are going to be making that deal.
They're not going to do anything that's going to harm the team going forward.
Yeah. Plus, we all know that Ricketts has a tight hold on the purse strings. He's not giving them $2.
Well, he's the one making the deal. And to answer the what's it gonna take in return? I mean, I wouldn't flip out if I saw Baez's name dropped in like a Cole Hamels type deal that we saw potentially come up earlier. But if it's for less than elite caliber pitching, I just think that's crazy. So that's my expectation in return is elite pitching, major league pitching, not prospects.
Oscar made a comment on that too. He said he hasn't heard any rumors, but he would say that Baez is definitely off limits. He said he doubts management would even consider the idea. I don't know if he's completely off limits, but I think it's going to take a really good deal.
I don't think anybody's off limits, but there's a high price tag.
Right. Moving on, Jordan says with Arrieta and Hendricks clearly in the 2015 rotation, what % chance do you give these three guys starting in 2015 for the Cubs? So we'll go one by one. What percentage chance do you give Edwin Jackson to be in the rotation?
I think Edwin Jackson is in the rotation. He still has 2 years left on his contract, and the Cubs owe him about $13 million for both of those years. And so, at least to begin the season, I mean, the Cubs have shown a willingness in the past to eat money, and maybe make a trade where they are going to end up paying him for a couple of years here to play for another team. But I don't know. I see him in the rotation, honestly. What do you?
Yeah, I mean,
think?
if we're talking, opening day, then absolutely. I mean, end of the season next year, I would agree with the no way. But yeah, I think he's there to start the year.
I do too, and I think how impressed would you be with Bosio if he can get Edwin Jackson straightened out?
And if he does, then
he's taking on some projects, but this is a project.
I thought it was. I think it was Theo that said that it's really his stuff is fine. Like Jackson has stuff, but he just can't seem to locate very. That's been his problem in almost every single game he starts in.
I think they need to take the approach of Edwin Jackson pitches only 5 innings or less, and then you try to get him out before he implodes. So when he does have a good outing, you just get him out of there quickly, and then you up his value and then trade him.
That's not a bad plan, because you're right. It seems like it's a 5th or 6th inning implosion. He'll often have a rough start.
He's had some
first inning trouble.
His first innings,
But then he usually settles down, and then it's about mid game where he's the wheels start coming off again.
Yeah.
The second pitcher is Travis Wood, and he says that he show enough in 13 to bring him back.
I think so.
I think so too.
I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what his contract situation is, but I think
he's not a free agent until 2017.
Right.
So He's getting paid like almost $4 million this season.
Yeah, and you got to have that, major league experience lefty in there somewhere.
Right, and then he brings other intangibles to the table. Like he's like having another, a ninth batter in the lineup. He's hard-nosed player, and I think that he brings a lot to the team. I'd like to see him in there.
He seems like the kind of guy that's going to work really hard in the off season. I think he wants to get back to where he was in 2013, and I think stuff like that. I think it's tough to when you get a rough half of the season, and I think it's tough to make a lot of adjustments as a pitcher mid-season. So I think I think we'll see a better pitcher next year.
I think isn't he from Arkansas? Maybe he's a fellow member of the Dardanelle club.
But Wood, like last season when he was an All-Star, he had a 3.11 ERA, and his FIP though was 389.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of more of an indication of where it really is,
right.
Minus the fielding. This season he has a 4.86 ERA but a 4.21 FIP, so he's probably like more like a hover around 4 ERA guy.
Right.
So ideally, like he's like a back into the rotation guy. Unfortunately, like the Cubs situation has kind of pushed him into being more a top of the rotation. But I like him.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And then he says Wada, and he said he's hearing buzz this week. He could be back, and I've seen a few things, and
I don't know. I think he's got a shot, but
I think it depends on what. I think it depends on who else is there and what the Cubs have done in the offseason. Like I think he's kind of the low man on the totem pole.
But I agree, because when you look at some of the other options available with, Turner and boy, you could run down the whole list in Straily and like there's going to be a ton of competition for that 5 spot, and that's probably the best spot Wada's going to get. Right. I don't know. I'm not saying he doesn't have a shot, but it would be tough for him to make it.
I think if he's counting on the number 5 spot, he's in for a Wada disappointment.
And I foresee them having another free agent in the mix too, who's virtually guaranteed a spot, or no, who is guaranteed a spot, I should say. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah. They've got a ton of options for that 4 and 5 spot.
Yeah. So that's going to make for a fun spring training.
Yeah, here's the names. I mean, you have Arrieta, Wood, Turner, Jackson, Hendricks, Wada, Beeler, Straily, Roscup, Russin.
And then there's also, I've heard buzz that even like a Neil Ramirez could be flipped into and Justin Grimm could be a starter.
Right.
So, I mean, there's just a lot of options.
Yeah.
Yep. I think someone once said it's good to have options.
Yeah. Well, they're stacked in the 5th spot.
Moving on. That's all I'm good for tonight, guys. Is just stupid quips.
Wada jokes. You got a Wada jokes.
Yeah. Oklahoma made me dumber, I'm afraid. Jason from New Mexico says, "What beer are you drinking?" So again, they find a way to put it in the show.
I have a New Belgian Summer Helles.
Helles. I'm drinking an 8-bit pale ale from Tallgrass Brewing Company. I'm trying to curtail my beer consumption, but I'll probably have one for the podcast, just keep tradition alive.
Yeah. Okay. I'm drinking water.
I usually try not to drink on Monday nights, but
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I'm drinking water. With the amount of sleep and as tired as I am, I figured it would not be a good idea to consume any alcohol. But I'll tell you, I did have a good beer. When we were down in Texas, I tried to drink things that I hadn't heard of before, and they have a brewing company down there called Deep Ellum, and they had a Dallas Blonde that was really good. And I guess Deep Ellum is like a kind of an artsy area of Dallas or something like that, but. I had that. It was really good. And then I had a darker beer at the ballpark, And for the life of me, I do not remember at all what it was called, but it tasted really good too.
I thought it would have been hilarious if you said I tried this little beer called Shiner Bock or something like that.
I was gonna have a Shiner Bock because I was in Texas, so I should have one. But all right. Sean says more likely to make the 2015 opening day roster: Mike Olt, Junior Lake, or Caesar.
You know what? I think Mike Olt and Caesar are likely to make the roster. I don't know about Lake.
It would
Yeah,
be
I
rough.
would agree with that too.
Yeah,
But I think opening day, I think Mike Olt is probably the third baseman. But then we have a certain other someone coming up.
He just has to keep the spot warm until late April, early May.
Yeah, I think Mike Olt too. I think it'd be rough to see Junior Lake start in AAA. Like I would kind of hope that here at the end of this season and over the off season and during spring training, he could kind of get back on track and be able to show that he can hit major league pitching. But I don't know. Like if he starts,
he doesn't have a lot of time left to prove him.
I think it'd be more of an off season and spring training thing.
Yeah.
But that'd be rough to see him start in AAA. But yeah, I think Mike Olt. Don says, do you like the idea of going for Giancarlo
Stanton? Giancarlo Stanton?
Yes, thank you. If he isn't a free agent after this season, or isn't he a free agent after this season? I don't actually know his. I don't think he
He's
is.
not.
Yeah.
He's only 20, so they've got him, and he's not a free agent until 2017. He's arbitration eligible, but not a free agent.
Right. So she says, I know the focus is on acquiring pitching, but I'd sure love to have that bat in the Cubs lineup.
But she brings up a point that like a lot of people have mentioned how they'd like to see the Cubs add one more big bat.
That would be a good one. I wouldn't argue with that, but he would be expensive.
I think that'd be about the best one you can add.
Yeah. I mean, 20. What is he? I think he's only 20 or 21. I mean, a guy that young.
He's 24.
Is he that old?
Yeah.
I thought he was younger.
No, he's 24.
Okay. But even 24, a guy that young that can hit like that is pretty valuable. So I think everybody'd love to have that in their lineup.
I think the Cubs are kind of, at least on opening day, maybe hurting for, Starlin Castro as cleanup hitter leaves a little bit to be desired. I mean, the guy is doing his thing this season. He's playing well, but they got to sort out a little bit with the lineup.
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't worry me too much, given what's coming. There's going to be somebody emerge as a pretty solid cleanup hitter out of this group.
Right. I agree with the prospects that are coming up. I mean, they're going to be in a lot better shape, but
maybe in 2017 they go after him.
Yeah, that could be. And I mean, I really like the idea of maybe waiting until then and seeing how the outfield comes together. I think by stockpiling position players, the Cubs. I think they're really just going to only focus on pitching in this offseason. I don't know if I see them going out and getting a bat, but they may. But
they have surprised with some moves. I think that if they see a vulnerability or a what do they call it, a market
inefficiency.
Inefficiency. They go after it. So.
Yeah, I just think I don't know what it would take to bring Stanton over. And like I said last week, I'm not really ready to part with anyone yet. But you know what? That's why I'm not in the front office. One of the many reasons I'm not in the front office.
Well, and the other crazy thing is when he's a free agent in 2017, the Yankees are going to be offering him, whatever a 2017 contract is for a hitter like that. It's probably $30 million a year.
In the year 2017, baseball contracts.
Yeah, you're right.
Now. I mean, it's going to be insane money.
But, if they have a little bit of a weakness in the outfield and they're in a playoff push in 2015 or 2016, maybe. I don't know.
They got revenue hand over fist. They might do it.
Well, I mean, they've got players all over the place that they could probably use if that's what, I'm not sure they want to give up prospects for a 1-year push that early on, but who knows? Maybe they will. Well, kind of going back to what you guys were saying about, Castro hitting cleanup and leaving something to be desired. And boy, I don't have who asked this question. I'm sorry. When I copied and pasted it, I didn't get the name. But it says who will be batting 3-4 in the order in 2017.
Oh, it's projecting.
Oh, this question's from Troy.
Troy. Okay, thank you.
I don't know. I think I see Rizzo sticking in the 3 hole. Don't you guys? But I mean, it's not far fetched to think of him moving to 4 either.
Yeah, maybe like a Rizzo Bryant or maybe
Bryant Rizzo.
Bryant Rizzo. Yeah. Bryant, think about it. It doesn't matter what number. Think about this: Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, Castro,
Soler.
Soler.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of silly. And maybe one of those guys isn't there, but geez, that's pretty exciting.
It is. Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe like a Rizzo Bryant.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's.
But Rizzo might be a
ways down the
slightly
road.
different hitter by then.
You're
They
right.
kind of
Yeah.
evolve.
Right. Yeah.
Schwarber, Vogelbach. It's just all cleanup hitters.
It's a 1 through 9 DH.
They have like one leadoff hitter, and then everybody else is a cleanup hitter.
Right.
Hey, and hell, with the new commissioner, maybe we'll have a DH in the NL by then.
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, I guess that won't come till after the next collective bargaining. So.
At Timax on Twitter says, last year there were talks of changing uniform designs. What would you like to see? Possibly Cubs punching Sox face logo as road jerseys?
Nice.
He's got another question, but I thought we could answer that one first. I don't know. I mean, we kind of talked about the logo, and Kurt, you brought it up first, and I kind of agree with you that there's a little too much blue around the Cubs logo.
What are we talking about specifically on the?
Just the uniform design,
No,
I guess. But
I don't remember that conversation.
oh, because I think we were talking about the throwbacks and like what our favorite Cubs logos were or whatever. But,
Oh yeah. You mean the circle logo? Yeah,
Right,
I like
yeah.
the older version, the older iteration of it.
with a smaller blue circle around
Mm-hmm.
the thinner circle. And I know some people like them and some people don't, but I really do like those. I guess they're alternates that they've been wearing this year, where it says Cubs across their chest.
I think
and the
that's
kind of
their
block
standard
letters.
road gray, but then they also have the blue.
Well,
Road.
instead of
Well,
Chicago,
they've been wearing
like
Chicago ones too.
right.
Well, that's the pitcher's choice, though. What they choose.
Yeah.
But the standard road gray is the Cubs one.
Oh, I like that one myself. I know some people don't, but Kurt, you're the design guy. What do you think about them?
I mean, at first I didn't love it, the Cubs with because now they added that sort of piping along the buttons there, whatever you call that.
Right.
At first I didn't love it, but it's kind of grown on me. I do kind of like it now.
As far as the
But the
home
one,
jerseys
so
go-
here's the sort of criticism of the old school people is that typically a road jersey would say the city that you're from, not the team name. So that's a traditionalist. You would want the city. So, anyways,
as far as the home uniforms go, though, I can't see them changing much. I think it's going to be white with the blue pinstripes, and they may kind of tweak the logo a little bit, maybe. But that's a big undertaking to do something like tweaking a logo.
Yeah.
I mean that's Well,
I'd like
Kurt,
to see
you
him-
have you kind of experience with that. I mean, like for a
it
college.
would cost them. It'd cost them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
'cause-
have new. Well, Kurt, when we were at spring training, remember they were talking about how the Diamondbacks changed their logo. Isn't that what happened? And they were telling us about it, and it was like, the stationery has to be changed, and
Oh, yeah, it's
everything-
expensive.
Everything.
Although
has
when
to
you
be changed.
consider in the context of a one guy maybe making $15 to $20 million, it's not, it's less than that. Printing new letterhead isn't, $1 million or anything. So
Yeah, it's just a big. I think it is a big
within their-
process.
within their budget, but it is. You have to change every. And the other bigger thing is merchandise. I mean, everything that they sold or will sell either has to be changed or sold out and reprinted and all that. So
Right.
it is an undertaking. But in the era we're in now, where like alternates and weird versions of logos and they come out with new logos for specific weekends. I mean, that's all just to get you to buy more stuff. So
Right.
changing isn't necessarily bad when it comes to selling merchandise.
I personally kind of like to see him go back to the old Cubs head logo on the sleeve. That's my one contribution to this conversation.
I agree with you. Yeah, I don't like the walking bear logo. I think it's really ugly myself.
I don't love it, but it's old, so I like it.
No, I mean the new like on the blue alternates.
Oh, not the bear with the bat.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's really ugly. I can't wait for those blue alternates to disappear forever.
Yeah.
And then Ty Max at Ty Max on Twitter, he also says, where do you think Addison Russell will start in 2015? And then he asks about the rotation next season, which we already kind of talked about that. But
Does he mean start at like what level will he be at?
Right.
Or...
Yeah.
I think by 2015
season.
he's at triple A probably.
Yeah. I don't see why he wouldn't be at AAA. Andy, you agree, I assume?
I do, because he's playing well in Tennessee, and he's been there for a fairly significant amount of time. He has 143 at bats at Tennessee, and he's hitting 294.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think having him there to use in 2015 late in the season, if they are able to make a push for the playoffs, would be pretty valuable too. So. Josh from New Jersey, he says, do you think Baez will ever in his career hit 25 or more home runs? I think if he doesn't, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
I think he'll hit 25 next year.
I mean, yeah. 45. 40, I suppose, is a more challenging question.
Yeah. Because if he doesn't hit 25, then he didn't pan out. You know, well, I mean that's kind of extreme. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I guess he wouldn't have lived up to half of the expectations we have for him.
Yeah.
Karen says, I had to watch the Sunday and Monday games on Mets cable channel because Cubs coverage was blacked out for me on MLB.TV. What do the Mets announcers have against Rizzo? Before his home run on Monday, they were all over him for being hitless in the series. Also, they can't pronounce Alcantara, which neither can we. So, I guess now I'm going with Alcantara. Alcantara. That's how Lynn says it, and I say things however Lynn says it.
You know, I think we're going to start to see some Rizzo backlash. You know, I think that where we appreciated him kind of with that whole Reds incident, taking some leadership, I think that rubbed some other fans of other teams the wrong way. And then also with the way that he's covering the plate, standing so close to the plate,
right, yeah.
I think that kind of gets on people's nerves a little bit. But, you know, these are all these things I'm saying are things that make me like him more as a Cubs fan. But
yeah, I would agree. I think the better a player is, the more heat he's going to take from the other announcers. So hopefully that's a good sign that he's proven some things. So that makes other people not like him.
Yep, I think you're right. And again, it's not surprising that they wouldn't know how to pronounce Alcantara's name. Andy, you're sticking with the Alcantara, right?
Yes.
With it to the bitter end.
Yep.
Nick from Wisconsin says, thoughts on Addison Russell being most likely to be flipped for pitching since he's been with the team the least time invested in him by the team. I don't know if that matters.
No, I don't think it is either. But I remember, last week I mentioned how, like, if you put this in context of a 3-team deal, he's theirs now. But, before we had him, if we could have landed a Cole Hamels in a deal that involved him, we would have all taken it. So I don't know. I don't want to get rid of him. I want to see if he pans out, because I think he will, to be a really great shortstop. But, but I don't know. I'm not as attached to him as I am, like, Bryant or.
Yeah, although we could be in a year.
But I guess when you think about what we don't have elite pitching and we need elite pitching. You're gonna have to give up something for that, and I don't want it to happen, but I guess I'm being realistic in that it could happen.
I think you made a great point, though, about them, looking to do what they've done the past few years on the free agent market and the off season. But I also think that we do have to brace ourselves for them trading a prospect that we've grown attached to.
Yeah, I think if the Cubs do move Addison Russell, it's not because of that he's not one of their guys that they drafted or whatever. But I mean, we know that they obviously had their eyes on him for a while, so I don't think it's that. I think it'll just be that he's maybe who the other team, if they're able to work out a deal for pitching, it's going to kind of come down to what the other team wants, and is that what the Cubs are willing to give up?
Well, and the other reason he came up now in August is that he's not on the 40-man roster, so Baez is out of the question, Castro's out of the question, because they would have had to clear waivers. So he came up more because he wouldn't have had to clear waivers. So that's part of the reason I think he bubbled up in like the Hamels deal and stuff like that.
And then last, Tim says, "Where's the photo caption?" So yeah, we've gone a few weeks without the photo caption, and I don't know. I think I'm kind of thinking we'll just do that maybe like once a month or something like that. I just kind of gonna put it in when it works. I don't know. You guys are cool with that, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, these episodes, like right now, I think until the end of the season, there's just a lot to talk about, and there's going to be a lot to talk about, and I think the photo caption can kind of make it drag on. But I know that there's a lot of people that enjoy the photo caption. So
there's a lot of pent-up captioning going on.
I know, and you know what? Somebody, I don't remember who it was because I clicked off the chat, but somebody posted a really amazing picture in there earlier, and so I think there will be one this week with that picture. Where I think maybe Taylor put it in there or something. So, yeah, it's a great picture. You guys are going to enjoy it.
I think I might know. I haven't seen it, but I saw a pretty great picture this week, so I'm wondering if that was it.
It might be. It's a good one. All right. Well, thanks to everybody for sending in those questions and everything for us to talk about. We appreciate it. And I also want to take a second to play a little Chuck Mangione Feels So Good, but also read iTunes reviews that have come in the last week. And we got 3 in the last week, so that's pretty cool. If you listen to us through iTunes or Stitcher, or even if you just have accounts with them, if you leave us ratings and reviews in there, then it kind of helps us move up the rankings and helps more Cubs fans find us and everything like that. So it helps us out, and we appreciate it. So we'll start off here with Hey Now 83747, and this is a 5-star review, and it says simply the best. It says, I'm sorry, I'm laughing before I even get into this. I read this in the car on the way to Dallas and just like cracked up for 5 minutes, and you'll hear why. If you like the Chicago Cubs, you'll love the IVMV podcast. You get all the latest Cubs news and rumors in one compact show. Corey, Andy, and Bert are hilarious. Which, I don't know, I really hate to laugh at, I'm definitely not making fun of you, but or not you, Kurt, but the person that took their time to leave us a review but called you Bert, I think is amazing.
I love it.
So I didn't know if it was like an unintentional misspelling, like did they do it on purpose to be funny, or did they really think that your name is Bert? I don't know. It's so awesome though. So thank you for giving me something to laugh about it as I drove through Central. I really appreciate it. But anyways, Corey, Andy, and Bert are hilarious, which makes the episodes fly by. This is the only Cubs podcast that brings it. Plus, they have a blog that complements the podcast really nicely. Do yourself a favor, grab a beer, and enjoy the show. So, again, we definitely were not making fun of you if you thought that Kurt's name was Bert, but it's Kurt, you kind of have a history of people getting your name wrong. Kurt.
That's all right. Kurt.
I got a story after we get done recording about that individual, by the way, Kurt.
Nice.
Anyways, yeah, he got engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yep. This next one is from Cass2323, and Cass says must listen for Cubs fans, and it's a 5-star review. It says if you're a fan of the Cubs, this should be in your weekly podcast rotation. These guys are laid back, funny, easy to listen to, and knowledgeable. I look forward to the show every week. So very nice.
Sweet.
And one more here, and this is from Javi's Violent Swing, and this is a 5-star review. It says, I enjoy listening to the show now, which I don't know what that meant. Like if it didn't before, now they do. Podcast will be a must-listen as Cubs get better in the next few years. I also like it that they say the podcast will be a must-listen. Not right now, but... No, I know what you meant. That was
getting in on the ground floor.
Right, exactly. So, thank you very much to Javi's Violent Swing, Cast 2323, and Hey Now 83747 for those reviews. We really appreciate it. And this week's episode is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Thanks to Matt Macer, who contributes at the Ryan Sandberg level and is therefore our associate producer. And thanks to the other Hall of Fame level contributors, Michael, Shane, Tony, Jane, Andrew, Charles, Sean, Dallas, and Jeremy. And if you enjoy our podcast and you like to help us keep it going and improve it, and therefore improve your experience, you can do so through our Patreon campaign. Patreon is kind of like Kickstarter, but it's specifically for content producers. And there's several levels to choose from, and they start as low as $1 a month, and there are perks at each level, so you can get something out of it too. So check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/IVNV. That's patreon.com/IVNV. We'll skip our break this week since we're going a little bit long because I talked about Texas for 15 minutes. I apologize about that. So
you sprinkled in some Oklahoma and Arkansas too. So.
I did. You're right. So Kurt, I think we kind of accidentally maybe touched on
what did you call
scary...
me?
Curd.
Curd and Bert.
Right. I think we kind of accidentally touched on your scary stat of the week earlier.
You almost stole my thunder, but I'm gonna elaborate on what Tim was hitting at earlier. So to set this up, we'll start with in 2013, the Cubs struck out a total on the year for 1,230 times. So that averaged 7.6 points times per game. And also to put that in context, in 2002, they led all of baseball in strikeouts, and that was 1,269. So just to kind of give you an idea of where this is headed. So this year, they're already at 1,093 in 124 games. And so they're averaging 8.8 strikeouts per game. And so if you sort of calculate out 1,428 on the year, projected in 162 games. And sort of the sad news about that is that that's if they continued at that 8 point. The problem is that in the month of August, they're actually averaging 10 per game. And in August, they've struck out a total of 160 times. And I've got more stuff here. So they have struck out 15 or more times in 8 games. And also in the Tampa Bay series, they struck out 44 times in 3 games.
And didn't they draw 3 walks or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Something ridiculously low. And sort of the major league record at this point is 1535, and that was the Astros last year. The Cubs probably won't hit that, but if they keep on this 10 per game pace, they could approach that middle, upper 1400s, low 1500s. So they're not quite major league record, but they're striking out a ton. So, and it's only getting worse.
Ooh.
But then you get to see Javier Baez crush a home run 430 feet. So
right, exactly.
It's all worth it.
Kurt, in the chat, Taylor says Bert is definitely my favorite Javi Envy guy. Yeah, that is a scary stat, man. That is, there's no joke.
Yeah, I really dug into that one. So yeah, and I should also, there's a slight disclaimer in that strikeouts in baseball on the whole are way up for every team. I mean, you're looking at like teams in like the early 2000s, you know, that are 11 to 1200 was a really high number. Well, now that's kind of average.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yep.
But still, they're up there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Ugh. I guess it's kind of to be expected. You add Javier Baez, your strikeouts are. Although what, he drew 2 walks today, right? His first 2 walks, wasn't that today? Was that yesterday?
He did. Yeah, it was Sunday's game.
Okay. Yeah. See, I got to find that silver lining in there somewhere. Kurt couldn't leave it like that. All right. Well, I don't have an internet muscle flex for the week. Kurt, did you find one?
I didn't.
Okay. All right. But Andy, I know you have one, so.
Yeah, as you guys predicted, the article about Bryant's injury is a gold mine for muscle flexes, and so here we go. Okay, so the first commenter says, "Great. So I bet Bryant is going to be one of these hurt guys, spending tons of his career on the DL list." And then already
the DL list?
Yeah, the DL list.
Is that like the ATM machine?
That's the disabled list. And then so the second commenter says, because he didn't play a couple games to have an MRI and found out that it's just a bruise. And then the original commenter says, sore toe this time, hangnail next time, sore back, etc., etc., etc. And then another guy says, how so, when this is the first time he's had any sort of injury in the past 2 years? And then another commenter, a couple of comments down, says, I got a bruise once. And then another commenter says, Mommy, kiss it and make it feel better. It's the kind
Mommy or Manny?
Mommy. Oh, Manny.
Oh man.
Why
do people go to message boards? I don't get it. Like, why would you go and read that? I mean, why do we do it? But why?
Well, we do it because it's gold mine.
It's entertaining.
I know, but why do other people do it? Why do people engage in conversations like that?
It devolves into such ridiculous stuff.
Life is too short to be. Man, it's so bad. What was that? Hurt toe now, hangnail then, hurt back. This is just the beginning, of course. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that, Andy. I do appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Well, that is it for this week's episode. The Cubs host the Giants. That's 3 night games in a row this week, which is nice for those of us that work during the day. And like I said earlier, if you're going to social media night and you want to meet up ahead of time, shoot me a tweet or an email and just say hey at the event. That'd be cool. Should be a lot of fun. And then this weekend, the Orioles come to town for a 3-game series. Thanks to everyone that showed up for the live broadcast, and we will be back next Sunday evening at 8:30 p.m. Central. And if you'd like to watch us live, you can go to ivnv.com/live at that time. Thank you for downloading and listening, and until next Sunday, go Cubs. Oh, man. I'm sorry, guys. I was not on my game tonight.
Oh, that's fine. I'll be right back. I have to pee.
Okay. Man, it is really hard to talk about something you haven't seen in a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was fine.
Yeah. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to contribute much.
Yeah, it worked out because I mean, Kurt did a lot of prep clearly, and I did some too. So.
Yeah. We can hear Kurt peeing. Oh man, I don't know. I think I might cut out a lot of the banter at the beginning too. I don't know. We went 16 minutes. before we
Yeah.
got into Cub stuff.
Yeah, I that might not be a bad idea. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily have to cut all of it out, but
Yeah, I think I don't even remember what we talked about, but I think I'm going to kind of go through there and see if I've got something I can cut
there
out.
was a ton about JFK.
Oh yeah. That'd be because I was like, I don't know, like I did talk about the ballpark, but yeah, I'll cut out all that JFK stuff and
Yeah, which people might find the ballpark discussion interesting on some level.
right, but not a JFK assassination stuff. Yeah, I'll cut that stuff out. So, all right, I gotta get going.
Yeah.
All right. I can't wait to hear about your Dardanelle Club experience.
Neil.
So here's real quick what happened. So we walk in. Okay, so it's like this
We're
90
still live, just so you know.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't care. It's only Tim and Taylor in there, so we're good. Okay, so we walk in, and okay, so this lady's at the front, 90 years old, Mildred, I think was her name.
Yeah,
And
Kurt's
so-
looks were hilarious
Your
about that, by the way. Where he said Mildred's about to get rural friendly.
Because you joined, I said you joined a swingers club. That's what I.
okay, so I walk in, and as I'm walking in, there's this girl like sitting at a table, kind of near where we sat. So we sat like kind of next to another couple, and it was us, and then there was a table behind us, and because we were against the wall, and so like this girl's down there, and she's with two guys, and I kind of thought that they were all like friends together or something, but now I'm not so sure. So she is like trashed, bad. And she gets up and she kind of like stands up and I mean like she was like ready to fall down and everything, and she just walked over to the other girl and they just started making out.
Awesome.
I mean, I
Told
don't think this girl had any clue. Like I don't think they had talked or anything like that, and they kissed for a good 3 or 4 minutes. Then she gets up, goes back down, sits at her table, and then she goes up and talks to a guy at the bar, and then she like she's hitting on him and he's just not having any, like she's a train wreck. I mean, she was not in good shape. And so then she goes back over to that couple, and I'm sitting to where I can hear the conversation and stuff, and she goes, "Hey guys," and they were like, "Hey," and she goes, "Let's go to your room," and they were like, "Okay," and they just all got up and walked off. And then the two guys, I think, like they were kind of like, I don't know. It was.
Was this thing? It was a part of a hotel, like attached.
Yeah, it was. No, it was not a convention center. It was a nasty hotel, but it was like the only bar, and so it was like one of those things. Like I guess I would kind of compare it to the Stardust in Moline, kind of.
Never been there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of like that. Like there's a bar that's separate, but the hotel's right there and everything. So I don't know. It was. It was interesting, and it was like kind of dirty in there, and like they had these plants, but they were like fake plants. So like there was like a little like fake like planter next to our booth, and they had fake plants in there, but they were tipped over, and so that like green stuff that you shove fake plants in, that like styrofoam stuff was sticking up in here. I don't know. It was really interesting.
Just another
the
Friday at the Dardanelle Club.
Yeah. The bartender was showing off his burns from battery acid on his hands. We were at the Dardanelle Club. But anyway, so that was the Dardanelle Club. It was interesting.
Wow. I bet.
It was fun though, life experiences.
It's a story.
And the park right next to it was the Mothers of the Confederate Memorial Park.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we drove. So did I tell you guys? You saw that picture I posted, right?
Yeah.
So like we were originally going to stay in that town, and then I was like, I should like just look up this town on Wikipedia. I like to do that just to see like what the history of town and stuff is, and everything on there, like everything on that when I did a Google search was about the current KKK headquarters is right outside of that town, and there's all this like tension and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't think we're gonna go there. And so then we were driving through that town, and then we were talking about the KKK, and I was like, well, I saw this like billboard when I searched for the town, and it, and and then we were driving, and then like we pulled up right on it, and I was like, I gotta pull over and take a picture of this. It's crazy. And it's like 98. It was like 98.5% white, like according to their demographics or whatever. And like that there's like where we stayed. No, when we went, because we went to Hope, Arkansas, to see Clinton's birthplace and everything, and that was like 50% white and 50% African American. So I was like, man, I bet there's some towns that are like, pretty, I don't know if integrated is the right term, but you know what I mean? Like there's a good mixture of different ethnicities and everything, and then there's like that place where there is not at all.
So bad for the 0.5% that isn't.
I know.
I'm surprised there aren't more. They're so inviting.
I know. Yeah, it was so crazy. And I was like, man, could you imagine like if we accidentally stayed there and then we're just like, yeah, let's go out for a nice evening, let's go to the Mexican restaurant, and like
There are no Mexican restaurants here, sir.
No, actually there were. They're named hilarious stuff. Like there was one that was like, oh, what the hell was it called? It was amazing. It was basically them making taking what the fuck was it? It was I can't remember. It was like two English words put together that sounded like a Spanish word. But
Arkansas.
All right.
Never been.
You know what? We drove all the way through the heart of Arkansas, and like the Ozarks are beautiful. I mean, like we went through a lot of really pretty areas, and I mean, not all, obviously not all the towns were like that. I mean, like Hope, Arkansas was a really nice little town and everything. So I don't know.
Bunch of liberals.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, don't get me. I heard a cop today when we were in Missouri, and he was talking about how our liberal society and about how a 14-year-old can go get an abortion, but she can't get a flu shot without her mom's permission. And
There's a cop in uniform.
Yes, yeah.
It's awesome.
I was like, yeah.
And then he shot someone.
I know. I was just like, I don't know if that's true. Like, I don't know. Like, I always hear stuff like that, and I'm like, did you fact check that?
Yeah,
Because I don't know if that's true.
Cops in Missouri kind of got a bad thing going right now.
That's a good point.
Oh my.
Yeah. I always love it when you see like the cop that's like 60 years old and like 5'7" and weighs like 280 pounds.
Oh man.
All right, I'm gonna get this thing. Oh, did you guys hear an episode title in there? I don't know.
Oh jeez.
How about the Dardanelle Club?
Welcome to the Dardanelle Club.
All right, we got it.
Done.
See you guys later.
All right. See ya.
Bye.